Hello and welcome to the next episode of ID Cyber Sessions. I'm Steve and this is Alice and we both work at ID Cyber.
Today we are speaking with Eliza-May Austin, who is the CEO and co-founder of that security company and the PocketSIEM brand. Hi Eliza, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Was building and running a cyber company always a goal of yours?
So definitely building a company was a goal of mine, but from being a kid, I just wanted to, stomp around in heels and a skirt suit and have a flip phone and tell people what to do, which is kind of my life right now. It's great. Without the skirt suit, it's more pajama bottoms. But When I got into cybersecurity, I just concentrated on learning as much as I can and try to expose myself to different things, such as, working as a recipient of services and then delivering services in an MSSP. Try to get a good sort of well-rounded view. Learned a lot, and then the most common sense thing to do was to start a business with my business partner, Stephen.
Awesome.
I know. Excellent. So how did you get into DFIR specifically?
So I went to university to do digital forensics. I started off in forensics, so I went to London and started to do forensics or blood spatter and all that. It sounds amazing. Sounds really interesting. But when you get there and it's working out the mathematical projection between the entry wound and the blood spatter, and I was just like, nah. No, this is not for me. And I wasn't good at it. So they'd be like, Eliza, let's calculate this, and I'd be like, let's go to the pub. I don't want to do this. So I was in London and I literally Googled, I was thinking I wanted to go back up north anyway, and I literally Googled forensics degree up north, something like that. And it came up with digital forensics, and I was like, I'll take a crack at that, I can do that. Piece, it's fine. And if I'd have knew a lot about how hard and complex forensics is, digital forensics, I would never have done it. But because I just went in just kind of like, no imposter syndrome whatsoever, like, well, this will be fine, I'll ace it. I put myself through it, got there, and really enjoyed it and fell in love with it. But I did realise I'm not very academic, so I did spend my first couple of years doing mini internships. So I'd go and work for like minimum wage or for free for maybe like Easter holidays or Christmas or something like that. And I actually went to a company called Zone Fox, which used to be in Edinburgh. They don't exist anymore. They were bought out. So I got my experience that way. From there, I completed my degree, and from there, just did internal roles where I was sort of the forensic go-to person, and then I eventually went in to do, ended up doing network type forensics at a financial company, and working in SOCs and that kind of stuff, and you get sort of exposure to it, and it really helped.
And you just kind of built on that ever since?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now that I run a business, I am, not hands on the tools anymore, which is kind of a shame. I know, I still, to keep up to date with it because I find it genuinely interesting. But, I'm not day to day there imaging drives and all that kind of really boring stuff. Let's be honest.
And thinking about like in the present day with that security company, one of the main services that they offer is purple teaming. Now, I thought I knew what purple teaming was, and then I saw your keynote at B-Sides Leeds earlier this year, where you actually much more succinctly explained what purple teaming was and how your company does it. For everyone that hasn't seen your talk, could you just kind of explain what is purple teaming?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off with an analogy, and then I'll sort of dig a bit deeper on that. So when it comes to penetration testing, if you imagine you've got a house and you say that the contents of this fridge is my prized possession. I've identified that's my prized possession. I went to the fridge because I used to be fat, so that probably still will be on camera. It's like it adds £10. Are you sure? So a pen test is a very narrow scope where you'll say, okay, here's the keys to the door, and here's the fridge, this is how you open it, and I want you to go from the door to the fridge. This is the route I want you to take. Right, so that's a pen test. Very narrow scope, great, fits the bill, especially when you've got a particular tool or service or something that needs pen testing. Fantastic. Right, when it comes to red teaming, it's very similar, but you say, here's the contents of my fridge. I don't want to know how you get in. Don't tell me. I'll go and sit down the road and then come back and then tell me how you did it. So, there's a lot of benefits to that as well. Purple teaming is adversary emulation. So we would say, okay, we can look at the contents of your fridge and we can access it by whichever means. However, your most likely adversaries are actually going to be interested in the contents of your wardrobe, right? So what I'm trying to, and while we do that, while we get an entry point in, we're going to put CCTV everywhere so you can see it. So it's all very open book rather than red team's very closed book. So you don't get the information. The purple team in, you get the information constantly. You're testing the blue team, you're testing the internal teams as well. So there's a lot to be learned from it. And you may also say your most likely adversaries are actually going to come in the chimney because they're going to exploit the Santa route. I'm quite proud of that. I'm going to trademark that. So that's what we're going to do as well. Right, okay. So what benefit does that add? So the customer knows that they are protected or not against their most likely adversaries, not just anything. So if you do a pen test or you do a red team, they might find SQL injection, or they might find out-of-date services and unsupported operating systems, all that kind of stuff. With purple teaming, you'd find all that stuff, but you'd also find particular tools or custom scripts or something like that that would be exploited and used by the adversary. So the way to run a purple team, if anyone wants to do it, it's pretty simple to do, is first of all, study a company from the outside. So if you guys want to do it, you'd study ID Cyber Solutions from the outside. What do we look like to the outside world? Who would be interested in us? So if you think about different threat landscapes, if you took a medical company in the US and a medical company, so same industry in the UK, the actual threats would be completely different because one is very financially focused and one is loss of life, disruption focused, being the NHS. So what you would do is apply that thought process and that attack mentality to the particular customer. You identify the techniques and tools that have been used by those attackers, and then you use those same tools, or as close as you possibly can. If they use custom scripts, you kind of study what kind of custom scripts, where they would customize them, and then you deploy that as well. And you would hand that over to the customer. So the blue team, they might have an MSSP, they know exactly what's happening at what time, so they can say, right, we're not going to smoke screen ourselves. We're not going to go from, we're doing like you guys doing Cyber Essentials. You're not thinking, right, we're doing Cyber Essentials, but now we've got to bypass that and concentrate on this. You concentrate on your job. It's a lot less disruptive. And they can pop in and say, we've seen this scan. Is it you guys? And you go, yeah, if you turn to page 11, section 7, you'll see that at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we're doing a scan against that with using this tool, blah, 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 blah. So everyone knows where they stand. The point of it is to identify gaps and identify weaknesses. So the conversation isn't, here's a report, we've seen some vulnerabilities and this we've been able to exploit this, ha ha ha. It's a very professional laugh. The actual point of it is to say, okay, we've managed to pivot from here to here. Did you see it on the SIEM? If they've got SIEM. And they'll say, yes, we did. And you go, great, can you do anything about it? And they'll say, no. So you go, right, okay, we colour that bit in red. And then the next thing you'll say, okay, we managed to execute this tool. Did you see it? And they'll say no. So we go, right, that bit's red. So we now know off the back of that, we need to spend a little bit of time on remediation, and it might be as simple as creating some use cases in the SIEM. It might be alerting. It might also be things like training and awareness, loads of random stuff, right? Whatever comes up. And you think, what's the most appropriate thing to do this? Hardening the email, blah, blah, blah. And off the back of that, you repeat the exact same test you did after the remediation period, which might be a couple of weeks, where you fast track everything. You've got to get change control on side, but that's all part of the engagement. So the next phase of it is you go and do like a solid, exactly the same, and you can turn around and say, I don't know why Yorkshire people say that. Turn around and say, it's like, was I facing the opposite direction? I have no idea. What a weird conversation. So you can say, 5 weeks ago, everything on this spreadsheet was red, and there was a couple of things blue. We don't do amber, green, all that kind of stuff. It's either exploitable or it's not, and it's up to you to accept that risk. So it's red or blue. So we say, okay, with a load of red stuff here, we've done some remediation. It's now blue, or it's purple because it's in flight. There's an in-flight project. So that's it, basically. So I've overcomplicated it a little bit. Basically, you identify who's going to attack you. You use those techniques. you fix it, you use those techniques again, and then you can visually see a tangible result from it.
It's like a very kind of focused examination of your setup.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, like a company might want to do pen tests on every application or every quarter or something like that. They might want to do a red team, if they're feeling a bit like fruity, I don't know, like every couple of years. Whereas this is something that you can show the maturity of the business progress and the advancement of your internal defences or your external defences, or if you choose to use another company, quite tangibly year on year. So it's kind of cool.
So you've given, obviously, a full rundown of what purple teaming is, but if you were to succinctly give the benefits of purple teaming, what would they be?
Definitely relevance. So, okay, so if you have a pen test, and we're all for pen testing, it's great. So the result of a pen test might be this application has got an SQL injection in, for an example, right? And the report will say, sanitize your input, fix this SQL injection vulnerability. And you go, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But depending on like your budget or just your projects that you've got going on, how busy you are, what industry you're in, you might look at it and go, well, I don't know if it's actually relevant. Like, how many input fields are there? What information do they absorb? Is there even a database? All those different things. So a purple team would remove that out of the situation. I mean, you might still, depending on what you're looking at, you might still identify an SQL injection, but you probably choose to, lower that down the chain. In a pen test report, it's going to be bright red, SQL injection. Purple team might say, you've got an SQL injection, but your most likely adversaries are unlikely to care about that because there's no input fields. It's a site that you only use for registering your email address, and there's no personal information in there other than that. Therefore, we're not interested in that. What we are interested in is XYZ, specific to them. So I think the benefit of purple teaming is how specific it is and how detailed it is. So you guys are going to have, as being a cybersecurity company, you probably have your own level of adversaries or hacktivists or whatever. And that's going to be completely different to some bigger companies that are significantly larger or in a different region, if they're in India or in the States, for example. So it's very much about geographical location, industry, and then past things. So what I meant by that was like scandals and stuff. So we'll look at like scandals or religious affiliation and all that kind of stuff of like directors. So it's just interesting. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just did we get in? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's
like, I mean, you could, you can test all you like using the front door, but if your most likely adversaries are going to use a window upstairs, that's just an analogy. They're not going to do that. If they're going to use this kind of exploit to get in, or if they are the type of adversary to burn a 0 day, you need to know that rather than just protecting against what's sort of in fashion or on the facade of our industry.
You also offer SOC and SIEM services
Yeah.
through the PocketSIEM brand.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that you only really use open source technologies, the implementation and the maintaining of those. What led you to that decision?
So, to be completely honest, we want to undercut the market, and we have the privilege of not charging our customers licensing fees. So, soon as you are no longer paying a licensing fee every single year, it becomes significantly cheaper. So that was a thought process behind it. Also, if you use commercial tools and you resell commercial tools, the margin's pretty low. They're not great, so you have to charge more and more. And this is coming from experience. I've worked in MSSPs. That's just how the industry works. That's absolutely fine. We're just offering a different solution, and we offer we price based on packages. So you could have 24/7, or you could have just a bit of help every day for an hour and have the same analyst every day. And it'll be significantly cheaper, and you get charities and things like that can afford it. So we just sort of slot nicely, and we can compete based on price. I'll be honest, we can compete based on price, which you're not supposed to admit to. You're supposed to be like, we compete based on quality. We do, but a lot of if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of what comes up when people are bidding for this work is cost. And also if you've got some tooling that's been created specifically to be a SIEM tool, and they might have had like 5 developers on it, that's great and it's well maintained. However, there may be vulnerabilities in there, there may be weaknesses in there, because you've got such a small team of people constantly working on it, and then they're pulled into other projects. When it comes to open source, you tend to have like the tools that we use, commercial enterprises that manage them and support them and protect them, but also it's open, so anyone can say, oh, I found a vulnerability in that. And they can read the source code, and it's very open. So it can be supported by thousands of people. So that's kind of nice, and we like to get involved in the community, and it just made sense for us to use open source.
In fact, like, I'm actually getting the idea that your price banding and your open source technologies is very closely tied actually to purple teaming. It's about you pick the relevant price band for you because it's the relevant coverage, which is what purple teaming is about as well. And
this is it. I mean, if you're a company and you realise that you are, if you're a company, as opposed to a giraffe, and you realise that like you've got some common sense about the situation, and you think, okay, we need to have a SIEM because we have to meet this particular requirement for whatever, or for investment, or to government contract, whatever. But we know we are highly unlikely to be a target of APTs, right? No one's interested in us. So you might be flawed in thinking that, or you might just have a little bit of common sense about it. So why would you go and blow a poo ton of money on so I'm trying not to swear. Why would you go and like dump so much money on something that you yourself don't feel that you can benefit from? So sometimes it's a starter thing, but we do have really large enterprises that use us for like 24/7 and stuff, and it's great. We didn't expect it. We were like, yes, just sign here, and they did, and we're like, oh. Like our first couple of years, because we were so small, and then we've grown, and there's like 20 of us now, so that's kind of cool.
It's good times to see when things are growing like that and moving forward. So going back to SOC, timing in the SOC, some clients have compliance-based alerts. Where do you feel that they fit in within the organisation in terms of reporting? Do you feel they should come through the SOC, or should they be dealt with other teams?
When you say compliance-based alerts, are you talking about like...
So someone watching inappropriate material while at work or something along those lines?
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a really solid question, and it's quite difficult to answer. And I think if you've got the visibility there, and you, as a company, what do you want to do? Do you want to create a separate team just to look at that? Probably not. Be really expensive. So if you do have an internal SOC or an external one, I guess you would, if it's a breach of information security policy, then it would come under cybersecurity. But I see the point in the question. When you've got things that need deep technical understanding and attention, do you want to be sidetracked because someone's looking at boobs?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how stupid to do that at work on your work laptop? I'll have to stop. Yeah, so I can see the relevance and the importance of that question. I think that realistically, yes, it's just going to have to come under cybersecurity. I very much doubt that it's ever going to be one of those things that takes up a great deal of time in between different alerts like malware and various things.
Because that's the case, you could also filter, do better filtering for those type of alerts, and then it's a case of, well, they'll come through as and when.
And they're important because a lot of dodgy websites are laden with malware.
So something that I think has come across very clearly in this interview so far is that your entire kind of ethos, both for yourself and actually for your company, is this kind of no-nonsense, straight-talking approach. And I've seen that a lot in your kind of like social media and things like that. So I was wondering, what have you seen are the benefits of that? And also, are there any problems that you faced?
Okay, so I suppose the benefit is, for me personally, I struggle to not be authentic. So I am never going to be able to post, unless it's satire, on LinkedIn being like, hashtag life goals, guys, and, team whatever. So I, living my best life. I'm never going to be able to do that and be okay with myself and not sat in my house cringing because I've done that. I've done it before and then just been like, what am I doing? So I do think, for me personally, that's the benefit, that it feels authentic. I think I really struggled when I was working in other companies with the cybersecurity. The cybersecurity industry is amazing, especially in the UK. Absolutely fantastic, phenomenal. What I struggled with was the fact that there's so many bad practices that are not called out. And because they're not called out, it becomes the norm, and then every company starts doing it. Mm-hmm. And then you end up with this weird dichotomy of, this is what we need, but this is what we're delivering. And you've got companies trying to shoehorn their services and create problems to match their services rather than just fixing issues that are common. So in being authentic, happy to call things out, having the reputation for just saying it as it is, that's sort of allowed me to be quite predictable in the sense that if I see something I don't like in cybersecurity, then I'll call it out. So I'm not on a personal level, I'll never do that, but it's very much about, for example, there's a lot of MSSPs out there that they'll charge for 24/7. Right. So a company will pay 24/7. But what actually happens is goes into a multi-tenant solution and the analysts are just working on the next alert that comes up. Mm-hmm. Right. And if your alert doesn't come up, you've paid for 24/7, you might get 45 minutes of attention that day. But they don't realise this until someone says it that's been on that side of the industry. And that's just how it is in a lot of places. But that's really important for people to know, that you've got analysts that have got 15-minute SLAs, they're looking at various different things, they can't apply business context to it, and they end up just pinging it back to the customer and saying, we don't know what to do about this, so you should probably look at it. And they'll think, I've just spent how much for you to look at it, for you to tell me what to do? I don't know what to do, that's why we hired you guys. So I think there's a lot of things like that in order for my business to make sense, I have to call those things out. So we can't be the antithesis of anything unless we highlight what we want to be opposing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when it comes to you being a CEO, you've now got employees. So you're managing the business and you're managing the employees, kind of keep them happy. How did you balance that and not sort of burn out?
I don't. Oh God, that's such a deep question. So I have actually had burnout before, but that was when I was working for someone else. And I've mentioned this on a talk at some point, where I was at a financial company, and you can go to my LinkedIn and see which one it was. And I was there with my team, only female in the team, which never bothered me at all, just is what it is. And the recruiter came over and he forgot everyone else's name, but he remembered my name, and I'd been there like a good few months. And I was like, you just remembered my name, is it because I'm special? He was like, no, I never forget a diversity hire, Eliza. And I was like, oh my God. And my heart just sank, right? And then because of that, and in front of the whole team, and we all was like, what a thing to say to someone. I never forgot anything, as if it was like an amazing thing that I was a diversity hire. And I was like, oh my God, I thought I was talented. I am. So after that, I just started thinking, right, I've got to stay till like 11 o'clock at night, and I need to work harder, and I need to get that finished. I need to do this. I need to be the best on that project. And then I just went, and then just totally burnt out, and ended up leaving actually in the end. And it was all directly from that comment, really. Yeah. And I'm not one of these people that likes to feel like I'm affected by silly comments. It wasn't silly. It was a very important comment. It was made in front of my team. And it wasn't just a comment. It was the fact that I was distinguished in my team as the only woman and a diversity hire. So I'm really against like diversity quotas. It really annoys me. We were talking about that earlier. Yeah. So now, since then, it's actually quite fantastic in terms of the way that the business is complete antithesis to working for someone else. I make my own rules, and I just things like that I really oppose. So we hire people based on their skill set, based on the level of interest and capability within the tools and the industry in general. And I think that's really, really important. And that's how I avoid burnout, really, hiring in talented people that know how to do the things that I was doing before, and I don't have to worry about them now. So I can concentrate on more of a strategic outlook, and have, really talented people working on code and developing stuff, and then working on services, delivering services. And that is where my strengths are, and I know that now. And I am the boss, so I've not hired myself because I've got a vagina, so I don't have to keep proving myself to anyone. So yeah, I suppose it's a really deep question in the sense that how do you not burn out? I guess being my own boss it just works for me, and just some people it doesn't. Yeah. Was there more to that question, or did I just rant and have
I think that was...
I think
an emotional episode?
It's like, so yeah, as we've covered, like, you're pretty outspoken, you're also pretty active on social media. So I think there's probably quite a few people out there who might think that they know everything about you.
I hope you don't. Quit now. They get cancelled.
Is there anything that you can share that people don't know about you? Sorry, I know it's a hard question.
Just throw that one at you.
Yeah, just throw that one at me. Oh God. I am allergic to penicillin. No, okay. I'm not joking, that's serious. And it's true. What people don't know about me. Okay. I don't get imposter syndrome. So that's something no one knows about me. And I've also lied on social media and been like, hashtag imposter syndrome, who else feels it? And then been like, that's so not me, I don't know why I lied about it. Yeah, I don't get imposter syndrome. So
Wow.
I think because I'm doing something I enjoy doing, and I'm constantly learning about being a CEO and running a business. No one comes out of the womb knowing how to do that. But I'm learning about it. I give myself some grace about what I know and what I don't know, and I've got people in industry that I sort of in touch with and know, and they've built companies and sold them, or built companies and still run them, and I sort of learn from them, so that's awesome. But even, way back when, until that comment I was talking about earlier, I never had imposter syndrome, which is it's such like a rare thing to hear in cybersecurity. But I kind of think we need to normalise it, because everything at the moment is people talking about imposter syndrome, especially women, talking about imposter syndrome, tweeting about it, just not shutting up about it. And actually, I think if you are working in a role that you enjoy, that you think, yeah, I can do this, where is there need for imposter syndrome? So I do think a lot of people that are talking about that are either in jobs they can't do and they're not willing to admit it, or they've overburdened themselves. So when I was working at other companies, what I used to do was print out the job description. So I'd look at it and go, I have no idea how to do that, no idea how to do that, never touched that, never heard of that. And at first, I used to cram as much as I could, so I'd get in the interview and just be like... And they'd be like, oh, she's so impressive. And I'd start the job and be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So there would be that problem. So what I started doing was printing out the job description, highlighting everything in like pink or yellow or something, taking it in, sliding it across the table and saying everything I've highlighted I can't do. I'll be able to do once I've learned how to do it, but right now I can't do it. So if you expect me to do it on day one, it's not going to happen. Is that a deal breaker? If it is, I'll go now, save ourselves some time, no hard feelings. Every single time I did that, they were always like, whoa, that's awesome. No one's ever come in and done that before. So I've never had imposter syndrome because I've never put myself in a position where I felt it. Maybe I'm just a sociopath, I don't know. But so I guess that's something people don't know, because I've lied about it on social media and said that.
I think that's the best bit of advice I've heard about going into a job interview, is just highlighting that and going, I can't do that. I'm willing to do it, I'm willing to learn it, I'm willing to do it, but just right now, if you're going to interview me based on those things, I'm out.
Yeah. And no one's ever cut an interview short because of it. They've always just been super interested and then like, wow, she's really honest about what capabilities are, let's hire her. Because it's quite hard in interviews, isn't it? People walk in, I've done it myself, I've been like, they've asked me what the ports are, like when I've been a junior analyst, they've been like, oh, tell me, what is this port? I've just been like, pow, 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 and then be like, I got them all right, didn't I? Just memorise them in the pub.
Yeah.
Like literally just memorise. Like, yeah.
Oh, just losing it now. So we always ask the people we chat to about something that, in a book, a podcast, a person, something that inspired you, that's brought you to here, or something that you would share, or that someone else should read, watch.
Okay, have you guys come across a book called Essentialism?
No.
So it's a book I never would have read before being a CEO. And the bigger we've grown as a company, the more that I've just been like, oh, I've got to do everything and I've got all these things to do. So I will have like, a Trello board of my to-do list that I work on with my PA, and I'll say, I'm so fancy, oh my God. And can you believe I'm from Doncaster? It's like, I'll sit there and I'll think, right, okay, on the absolutely has to be done today, there's 20 things that I have to do today. That's not going to happen. Okay, but I have to try and make it happen. This book, Essentialism, what it taught me is common sense, really, is you can only have one priority at a time, right? You've got 20 priorities, but only one of them is going to get done, or none of them are going to get done, or they're all going to get done crap. So pick one and do it. So essentialism is really about having the ability to rule out the noise, rule out everything that does not have to be done right this second, and learning how to pinpoint the thing that matters most. And that is a skill I don't think I naturally have, because I'm just like, I'll do this, I'll do that, I know. And so that's been really instrumental for me, because I've genuinely learnt from it. I've genuinely got, pages, I've got it in my bag right now. It's got pages and pages and pages of Post-it notes and all sorts of stuff in there. So, yeah.
That's a new one.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's a great
definitely going to look that one up. Yeah.
It's a great book, it's really good.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation.
Yeah.
That's actually all that we've got time for today. So thank you, Eliza, so much for joining us today. I can definitely say it's been very entertaining.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And if you'd like to find out more about what ID Cyber can offer, then please check out our website, idcybersolutions.com.